Mr. Alexander, can you describe the humanitarian situation in Yemen as a whole right now?
Okay, the situation after 3 years of conflict has become extremely difficult. There are not only the direct effect of the hostilities, but more largely now you see a situation in that country where the whole infrastructure is to some extent collapsing. Imports have been reduced, and some of these imports are very heavily felt. This reduction is very heavily felt because we're speaking of drugs. It is estimated now that less than 30% of the drugs that used to enter the country are still entering the country. Okay, so you have a number of very basic drugs like insulin, like a treatment for dialysis, which are not readily available anymore. Or if they are available at a very high price. Of course, if you have money, you can maybe get away with it. But if you are among the poor people, then there are simply a number of things which you cannot afford anymore, such as food, such as drugs, and such as sometimes even water. Because today in Yemen, the whole water system and sewerage system is something that is also heavily supported by international organizations, including the ICRC. So yes, after these 3 years of war, the humanitarian situation is extremely worrying. Perhaps the best proof of it is those 1 million accumulated suspected cholera cases in last year, which led to over 2,000 dead. And this, I think, is the best example, perhaps, of where the country is going at the moment.
How are the contamination efforts for cholera going right now?
Thanks God, cholera is something which is going down. I'm not sure if it's totally on the way out, but it's clearly going down. But tremendous efforts were done in 2017, and we were maybe successful on that front. And thanks God it's going down. Now I'm worried for other cases, because we have now a few hundreds of diphtheria cases which have not been reported, and we really hope that it's not going to take a scope like the one we had for cholera.
How important were the first aid training ICRC gave to Yemenis?
Okay, the first aid is of course the first thing that you can do to save someone's life. So this is why first aid, we try to have it not only for civilians, which are admittedly very important, but also to armed groups. So we offer them first aid training, because before the time that the person gets injured, for instance on the front line, and the time that the person can reach the stabilization post, before of course being transferred to a field hospital and so on, first aid is there. And if first aid is not done correctly, the chances of survival are dramatically lower. So yes, indeed, we believe that first aid is very important, and that's something we do in close collaboration with our friends from the Yemeni Red Crescent Society, who have volunteers who are trained in first aid.
You managed to bring hundreds of Yemenis back from death just by identifying them as prisoners in various facilities. Are your efforts building up in that field?
Yes, it's not an easy file. It's a file which is painstakingly slow, but we have been progressing, and lately we had a big breakthrough, because we had access to one detention facility in Aden, where we saw almost 300 detainees, some of which didn't have family contacts for a very long time. So yeah, the file is progressing, and each time one side gives access to one detention, then somehow in exchange, it shouldn't be that way, but that's the reality, the other side will give access as well. So we are starting to see what I call a virtuous circle in detention.
Kuwait has recently hosted a reconstruction conference for Iraq. Do you believe the resolutions will help improve the humanitarian situation there?
I think it's a good sign. It's an important sign that there is a reconstruction conference, because it brings people from different areas around the table. You listen to what are the challenges today, and compared to what were the challenges the last 4 years, it is almost as if the work will start now. I think the conference is a good moment to take stock, but also to look what what the needs are, and they are massive. I think we are on the. I mean, we see how the cities are looking like, how villages are looking like. So yes, the needs are really massive, and I do hope that this is the beginning of engaging in this process in Iraq.
Okay. After the major combat operations against ISIS have ended, what are the let me rephrase that. Regarding the foreign fighters who were with ISIS, what is their current status now? Are they detained in Iraq? Are you helping deporting them back to their countries? What's going on?
No, I think we the ones we visit, actually detained by the state of Iraq. They are facing trial or not. I think they are really in the judicial process under the government of Iraq. As you see, our activities in relation to them is, as we do for all Iraqis and detainees, is to visit them, to make sure that the conditions are appropriate, the treatment is appropriate, and family links is established.
You said that Iraq is heading more and more towards a stable statement. Did you witness any improvement in the economical situation for the Iraqis, especially the one who had to leave their homes and try to come back? Is it easy for them on the economical level?
I think nothing is easy for the Iraqi who had to leave and have to come back, and most of the Iraqis, they face challenges at several levels. Obviously, as you said, it's the economic situation. Some have restarted their businesses. We have seen it in Mosul, in the eastern part of Mosul. It went very quick. The people opened shops, they opened restaurants. But also, we shouldn't be fooled by the external picture. I think there is a macroeconomic challenge in Iraq, which we all know. It goes to the south of Iraq. It's not just directly affected areas, but also the poverty in Iraq has increased. There is a lot of women who today head household, or children who are in charge of being the breadwinner. So I think the challenges have just added. I would not say that economically this is now stable. No, I think many people really struggle to pay rent and to find a stable job.